This is Channel Attitude. Your voice, your right, your freedom.
Hell yeah. Look at that. Here we are. Smokeout with Shelly and SJ, of course, the interactive video show where you can be a part of the show. If you're a subscriber, of course, we'll send you an email each week telling you where the Smokeout is. You can come hang with us either in the private chat, on audio, on video, participate in the show, ask questions, smoke out, whatever it is you want to do, hence the name of the show. We are now, of course, exclusively on channelattitude.com. Of course, ShellySJSmokeout.com. You can find the link to Channel Attitude, links to our websites, our Instagram, and our Twitter as well. All of that cool shit. I am Stoner Jesus, of course. You can search me. I've done various shenanigans on the interwebs for many, many years. She is Shelly Martinez, model, content creator, former pro wrestler, Hollywood mover and shaker, if you will. And tonight, Pale Shelly. Welcome, Pale Shelly.
I know. You saw when I first popped up. I wasn't pale. And then when I did the little video promoting the show that we're going to be going live soon, I wasn't pale. But
Now look at you.
Look at me. Within seconds. The lighting. And here's the thing. I have to invest in a better light that I have over here. I have a softbox. And it was told to me a long time ago, so it's my fault for not doing this, that because I do have like olive skin or I'm often very tan, that it's not good for me to have this fluorescent light, that I should have the more warmer light. So there you guys have it.
What we have to go through.
I know.
Put on the entertainment for the people.
I know. But anyways, I'm here, pale and all, but it's okay. Last week I looked great because I'd say about 5 hours before the show, I put on my self tanner. So last week I was real nice and tan. It's faded. And honestly, I thought it was better to take a nap earlier than to put some self tanner on. So,
Man, self-care.
I guess. Maybe I should have though.
Anyway, if you want to subscribe, of course, channelattitude.com, less than $1 a week. There's also a lot of great shows on there as well. We're going to have a lot of great guests coming up in future episodes. Tonight, just so you know, we will have part 1 of Shelly's interview with April Hunter. That should be cool. I assume, Shelly, you want to like stay on with it and do commentary and stuff like that?
Whatever you think. So just for you guys listening out there, I've had a podcast that I was doing called the Wake and Bake Morning Show. Now, the Wake and Bake Morning Show was something that I did with my sister for many years on my Patreon. So if you go to my Patreon page, there's a lot of freaking episodes on there. I think like 90 something. And then I decided to make it like a separate thing because I'm that person that just makes life harder for me. So, but no, for reals, the reason why I wanted to make it separate was because I understand that not everybody is into like having my sexy exclusive content, whatever. So then we ended up doing the Smokeout. So I kind of put that on hold for a bit. And then we went on our hiatus. I brought it back, but I threw it on YouTube and on the Martinez Girls Patreon. And then because I do too much, I commit myself to too much, I was behind in it. And let's see, when was this? I think it was when was it? It had to have been in April. Yeah. In April, I ended up interviewing April Hunter for the return of the Wake and Bake. But then we came back here on the Attitude, Channel Attitude. So I told Stoner Jesus, let's just throw it up on here. I have it. So there you have it.
That's right. So that'll be toward the end of the episode. Of course, in the meantime, we have great stuff. Usually Shelly comes up with to talk about stuff she wants to get to. The first topic, of course, is one that we have gone over before on the show, and is one of what I like to say the major 3 pillars of the show. The first pillar, of course, being Shelly's stories and her experiences and stuff, and the other 2 pillars, of course, being Shelly's boobs. So there they are. There you have it. Shelly, we haven't had a boob update in quite some time. So what's going on?
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't watched our shows before, last year, I was going through this whole thing where I was having this ugly pain in my boobs. And I would like text all my girlfriends that have implants. And I'm like, dude, do your boobs ever hurt? And all of them were like, no. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? So I was freaking the F out. And long story short, I realized I ended up going to a doctor, getting them checked out, plastic surgeon. And they were fine. He said they were in really good shape, actually. And that's when, like, one of the things I knew that I would want to do I gave myself the cutoff, the age of 50. By the age of 50, if I still have my implants, I want to take them out, because as lovely as they are, they're a big pain. And back in the day, when I originally was going to get my boob job, it was just going to be a lift. And I had natural D's, and they said that they would go to like a full C. So I was like, well, let's just put an implant in there and we'll go double D. And I didn't think about, because I was in my 20s, how you have to keep them up. And it freaks me the F out to be like, to get them taken out to put new ones in, and then just have to deal with it all together. And then I don't want to be this old ass bitch who, like, let's say I'm like 70 and something ugly happens, like one pops or something. And it's like, and then I have to go get like, no. So throughout the years, ever since I got my boob job, in my head, and I know this is not rational when I'm awake, but when I'm in those sleeping kind of moments, I feel like if I put pressure, because I sleep on my stomach, if I put pressure, on full body weight on my boobs while I'm sleeping, I feel they're going to pop. So what I've been doing since I got them done, which was in 2006, I sleep like this, so that, like, on my pillow, so there's like this wedge with my arms between, so my boobs aren't totally being squished down. So an update on that, Stoner Jesus. About 3-4 months ago, I now have issues like all right here from being in this position, to where now I can just stretch and I'll have these gnarly cracks that I never had before. I end up getting like really gnarly knots, and it's just really painful sometimes. So I'm just like, see, this is just too much. And so now I have a new way of sleeping where, like, I tuck a pillow and I put my arms under it. This is terrible. So it's like a lot of responsibility. But going back to when I saw the plastic surgeon, I hate admitting this, but I came to find out the reason why they were hurting is because they were getting bigger, because I was getting bigger and gaining weight. So I was glad to know that was just it. But then I was like, oh, Shelly, come on. That's sad. So a big part of me gaining weight has been numerous things, like not doing wrestling practice every week and wrestling on the weekends, being super depressed when I decided to just give up wrestling. And then what really kicked it into gear was when I went off of birth control. I was like, I'm going to go off birth control. I've been doing it for too long. Like, it's too much. And so when I did that, my body just went through it hardcore. And hormones, fellas, you'll never freaking know. And I hate you guys for this, but they are a bitch, and they will F with your whole, like, point in case, my health issues right now, my whole body's out of whack at the end of the day because of a bunch of hormones. So I got myself back in order. So now I'm not as fat as I was. And, it's just been on my mind that I was like, you know what? I got to take these things out. I was going to send you a photo to pop up on here, but I guess I forgot. I was looking through some old photos and I saw pictures of me with my natural boobs. And what I used to always do, I was like, I just wish they were like this, because even though they were D's, they were very saggy, very, very saggy, like not cute. And so I'd always pick them up and be like, I just wish they were like this. And so when I saw these modeling photos of me doing implied, where I'm doing the hand bra, I was like, you know what? See, it's going to be all right. Like, get that lift that I wanted to, because now it's probably like all this skin from like getting the implant as well. So even though it scares me to think about going under the knife, I'm kind of excited to be like natural. You know what I'm saying? Like, in this day and age, no disrespect or judgment to anybody out there who modifies their body. That's If that makes you happy, cool. But I kind of feel it's like, especially here in LA, it's like a rare thing to be natural, not just with boobs, but like so many fillers and this and that on girls' faces. And I guess I didn't really put myself in that kind of category where I wasn't that girl until I would say the last 5 years or so. People, I overhear them when I'm like out and about talking about me. And the general vibe is like, kind of like, it's nice to see somebody that has a natural looking face. And God bless my mom, but like, she's one of these people. And it's like, I just don't like that look. I know, here's the thing. People, since I was in WWE, try to talk me into doing lip fillers. Dude, I'm fine with my thin ass top lip. Yeah, my bottom lip's nice. My top lip is needs to be overdrawn. I will just overdraw it. I don't care. Like, I'm just not into that look. And I don't know. So it's crazy because another thing that I feel I can kind of feel what's the right word? I don't know what the right word is, but it's more like there's so many photos of me out there, whether it was when I had the, in my opinion, gross natural boobs because they were all saggy, or they were these boobs. There's a lot of photos and content out there of me topless. So it'll be kind of nice to be like, no, you cannot see these. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I just wanted to give like a little bit of a boob update for all my boob lovers out there. I know some people are like, no, don't do it. But it's like, look, it's going to be fine. They're not going to be as big as this, but they're still going to be big and beautiful. And I love it.
There you go. Not that anybody asked, my boobs are fine.
You still haven't freed the nipple.
I'm just as fat as I've ever been, and I don't care. Cares who knows it.
I wish I could say that.
Speaking of comments and like stuff like that about you, our Instagram, of course, as you see down there, scrolling, Shelly SJ Smokeout. All of the comments, pretty much exclusively, have been, "We love you, Shelly. You look great, Shelly. You're super hot, Shelly. We love you." Maybe a couple possible stalkers. Who knows?
It's kind of annoying, isn't it? I mean, I'm not trying to bag on anyone, but it's like, I want to interact with you guys on the show. Like, it's all the same comments, just in different ways.
Yeah. And by the way, I haven't got any direct messages yet, but fair warning, whatever you send in direct message is going to me and not Shelly. Shelly's not going to see your dick. I'm sorry. The dick buffer is not going to reach Shelly. I'll tell you. I'm sorry about your luck. Just don't bother.
You know, on that topic, it annoys me to no end when you go on my OnlyFans, right? Because it only happens on OnlyFans. You go on my OnlyFans, and I have in my profile what you get for spending your money on there. So to me, a person who I care about what I spend my money on. So maybe that's why I assume everyone else is that same way. They want to know what they're getting for this, money they're spending. I have on there, I will not do topless. It'll never change. Don't ask. And in bold, it says, I do not want to see your penis. If you send it, you are blocked. And it happens here and there. And hasn't happened for a while, but it happened recently. And it's just like, I just don't understand this, because if I was a girl on OnlyFans who's like, oh, I'll do your dick ratings, I get it. You're going to send it or whatever. Or if I talk about dude's penis all the time, oh, dick this, penis that. Okay, then maybe you'll probably send me a dick pic. But I never do that. So it's so strange to me that these dudes either aren't paying attention to what they're signing up for, or for some reason they just don't care. And then what is it, just the getting off of knowing that I saw it? Because by the way, the last person who did this and you got blocked, gross. Gross. So it's just like, I don't I don't understand the psychology behind wanting me to see your penis when I don't talk dirty on my page. I don't flirt on my page. It says in bold, don't do it or you're blocked. It's just so baffling to me. I don't get it.
I think there's probably a small percentage of guys who think that you're going to see it. And then you're like, you know what? I do have this policy of no dicks, but I love your dick so much, I'm going to respond to you. And they do this with no evidence. I mean, I guess there's other women on OnlyFans if they'll send it, they'll do like the dick ratings, like you say, and they'll even no matter how bad their dick looks, they're not going to say, "Oh, your dick sucks," unless it's like their thing, like they're a dominatrix or humiliation or whatever. Most of them are going to say, "Oh yeah, 9 out of 10, good job, guy." And I guess he gets like a sense of, hey, I got a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go show it to as many people as I can and see what kind of fish I can snag or something. I don't know.
And I guarantee you, these dudes that come at me like this, if I saw them in person, they would have a hard time talking to me, or they would be shy or reserved. But it's like, because it's the internet, they think they just can, no pun intended, willy-nilly send me these pictures. It's just like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Don't you care about your $20? Like, don't you care? And the thing that's annoying to me is OnlyFans didn't used to always do this, but when you block somebody, it refunds them their money. Why? I should still get that money. I had to go and see that damn dick. Why do I have to be punished and they get their money back? It's like, they're the ones that's my rule. That's my boundary. They broke that rule. So why do they get their money back? I should be able to keep it, but whatever.
I also think some guys are under the impression that women react to dick pics the same way that they would react to someone sending the pic of their boobs in messages. They think it's like equivalent, and it's not. Women don't react the same way to that kind of stuff that men do. Obviously, if a man gets a picture of boobs, you say, "Oh, that's cool. There's her boobs." He may show them to other people. We may, forward to his buddies or whatever. But women aren't like that. When you send them a dick, they're like, "Oh, great, a dick. I've been waiting for this all day." Thankfully, someone sent one finally.
Fellas out there, I have a dick in my life that is very, very luscious and great to me. I don't care about anyone else's dick. I'm not hard up for dick. So please keep your dicks to yourself. You think I'm gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, let me just get off your dick"? No, dude. No.
That's a good meme. Shelly's saying, "I'm not hard up for dick." I'll work on that.
Absolutely.
So anyway, speaking of dick, kind of, as I transition as the professional broadcaster that I am, another subject on the chopping block, and it's a dick pun, thank you, is age gaps in dating between men or women. What was the catalyst for this, Shelly, that you want to talk about it?
Okay. I'm not trying to be mean. This is just something that I know it's dumb, but it really bothers me. Okay. So there's this news anchor that used to be on the news that I watched. Excuse me. And she hasn't been there for a long time, but I follow her. I really, really like her, the way she posts on Instagram and everything, very lifestyle, showing places in LA and stuff like that. She's had this boyfriend now for a few years, and it creeps me out because he looks like her son. And before she started dating, she was married to this guy who was very unattractive, looked older, in the broadcasting business, I believe. And I remember her saying on the news when she was on there that they slept in different rooms, which whatever works for people. But the people I've known personally that do that, they don't have a good relationship. I'm not saying all people that do that don't, but I'm just saying personally, the people I know that have told me that that's the deal. They're not intimate with their partner. It's almost like a business arrangement at that point. finances normally is what it is. So I was kind of like, oh, that's so sad, you know? And the thing is like this chick, she always looks like she's going to cry in her photos. I don't know if that's just, and I used to watch her on the news and I didn't get that vibe. Like, why does she look like she's about to cry on the verge of tears? But whether she was with a husband or now, where she's supposed to be all happy with this young guy that looks like her son, it just creeps me out. And when the last dude I dated in wrestling, he was 9 years younger than me. That's the first time I ever did something like that. I've always dated guys around my age or way older. And it creeped me out. And to this day, sometimes I have a really hard time forgiving myself for being in such a dark place that I allowed this relationship to happen because, ew, it's gross. And so I couldn't help but think like, you know, I feel like this guy for this chick that I'm talking about is way more than just 9 years younger. He seems like she's like in her 50s and he seems like maybe he's in his early 30s or something. And it's just crazy. And then I know a girl who she hangs out with guys in her 20s and she's in her 50s. And recently I saw that she was hanging out with one of these guys and he looks like he's 16 years old and he's not, he's in his 20s. And I'm just like, this is creepy. And then I got to thinking, I thought it'd be a good thing to talk about here because, you know, to hear what your thoughts are. I'm not saying that it's okay or that it should be okay when it's like a guy in his 50s dating 20, like when I was 20, in my 20s, I was dating guys in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I've been there. And the difference I felt was the older they were, they had their like life kind of situated. Whereas me in my 20s, I didn't. I was still working on my career. So when I'm seeing like this newscaster, now she's pushing that he's music now. He has music coming out. It's like, oh, okay. So it's like, I feel from being, and then when I dated that guy that was younger than me, his wrestling career was nowhere near what I had already accomplished when I dated him. And it was crazy because I was used to guys taking me out, like we have a good, like adults, no offense, but we have a good time. This guy would just like, when I go visit him, he would just like sit there and want to play video games. And I remember one time we actually went out and I got ready. He was like, you know, you didn't have to put makeup and everything on. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Like, and then the girl he ended up cheating on me with was closer to his age. I think they were the same age. And it made sense to me when they ended up becoming a couple afterwards, because it's like, she has no problem just sitting there playing video games and going to go out to eat and just look like you rolled out of bed. I care. Like, that's the kind of girl I am. So it just makes me wonder with these people, or these girls. That's why I'm saying, like, it creeps me out. It still creeps me out when guys do it too. Like, there's this musician that I used to be all about, and he ended up marrying somebody like a year or two ago. And last time I saw like his Instagram, he was like, happy 21st birthday. And he's in his 40s. And I was like, and I'm not saying that it's just, it weirds me out because where my mind was in my 20s versus just even to my 30s and then to my 40s is so different. And so it's like, I have a hard time when people that end up being in those relationships and they'll talk to me about it. It's almost like this is my experience. They, first of all, know how I am. So they know I'll tell them what I think if they ask, and they know it's not going to be what they want. So instead, what they do is they try to convince me, well, I'm just having fun and like da 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 da. And it's like all these, like they're trying to convince themselves while they're trying to convince me. And I just think it's weird and creepy because you can't in my opinion, argue that you're just a different person in those 20 years to the 30 years to the 40 years. And then these people that are in their 50s dating these 20-year-olds, what do you really have in common? I feel it's just like what a midlife crisis, lust. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking that first of all that say a guy in his 20s and a woman in her 50s, since women mature much faster than men, I got to think that the maturity levels have to be so far apart. It's like a 70-year-old with a 10-year-old. I can't think of anything that they would have in common, but it's definitely a thing of perspective. I know that myself and most guys would agree with me that, and this comes up a lot when, like when hot teachers are with their students or whatever, those stories are in the news. If it's a 35-year-old dude with like an 18-year-old girl, that's creepy as fuck. But an 18-year-old dude with a 35-year-old woman, most guys would be like, way to go, dude. Like if a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old in high school, he's banging his hot 32-year-old teacher and she's giving him weed and, taking him to her house or whatever. Most guys are like, that's fucking awesome. Because we remember like, well, we were like when we were 15 to 16 and how awesome it would have been for something like that to happen to one of us. But on the flip side, obviously, if it's a 32-year-old dude and he's having sex with a 15-year-old girl, that's rape and it's gross as fuck. And you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who would say, yeah, that's cool. But again, the perspective is so wildly different that, it's just different from the male perspective when it comes to young guys as opposed to young girls. I know when I was 15, if a hot teacher was like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing, but I would have given my best fucking shot. I'm like, sure, yes, your house, weed, let's do that, whatever. Tell me what I need to do because so yeah, that's like I said, the maturity levels. I mean, I imagine like a 40-year-old guy probably has more of a maturity, more in common with a 20-year-old girl in her 20s or woman in her 20s than like the flip side, an older woman and a younger guy. Like you said, it's just like you're basically watching play video games or hang out in his mom's basement or whatever it is you're doing. It's
Dude, the guy lived in his friend's basement. Like, I
like,
remember the first time I went to visit, he lived in Rhode Island. So I went to go visit. And the first time I went into his room, I was like, my heart and soul sunk. I was like, what?
stuffed wrestling figures in his
What am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I just remember pretty much our whole relationship. I used to call my friend at the time and I would just be like venting about how I just didn't think it was a good idea. And I think I was such in a dark place that, and I hadn't been with anyone for a long time. Prior to that guy, I had a boyfriend for like a little bit, but before him, I hadn't been with anyone for years. And when it didn't work out with the other dude, and what happened with that was I used to say that it was my most genuine breakup because we realized we just were not meant for each other. But then I've taken that back since then because he tries to like talk about me like, I don't know how to say it. He talks bad about me, this dude, because he just talks about like the things that I talk to him about, whatever. And so I think when all that stuff started coming out, that's when I felt kind of fooled. Like, oh, like that wasn't what I thought. He wasn't this like genuine guy or whatever. So when I got with this young guy, what he did, because I remember he admitted to me, he's like, yeah, I used to be at the gym and I would just listen to your podcast for like, I'd be on the cardio machine for over an hour. So he was doing his homework on who I am and what I'm about. And so he pretended to be that. And then when I went to visit him, and it wasn't just seeing him at the show or being on the phone with him, and I was in his habitat, it was hard for him to keep up that act. And by then he was already being shady with the girl that he had cheated on me with. And so it was one of those things where I was just like realizing what the real reality was. It was almost like, this is why I tell people I'm not for online dating. Not that I've ever done it. I've just never really trusted it because I always felt like people can pretend to be anybody. You just don't know. And I can relate to that because even though I met this guy through work, which was wrestling at the time. You know, you only know someone so much if you just see them at shows or you're just on the phone with them. So it's kind of like the same thing. Like, you know, you don't really know them until, like I said, I was in his habitat in this basement of it. Because he had told me that he was a trainer at the gym, which I was like, cool. And he also told me he was a trainer at the wrestling school. Dude, the only people he trained at the gym were people from the wrestling school, and he didn't know what he was talking about, giving bad advice. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. The reason why he trained at the school was because later it came out part of his deal with living in his friend's basement was that he would be the trainer at his school. So it wasn't like he was getting paid for it. And
Wow.
so he made it seem like for me being a wrestler, oh, he's a personal trainer, and then he's a trainer at the wrestling school, and then he wrestles on the weekends. That sounds pretty good. Dude, it was all a facade. And I just couldn't believe it. And we've talked about on the show before, I'm a stage 5 clinger. So if I sleep with somebody, I try my best to make it work out of feeling guilt that I have to because I had sex with him.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened between him and I just remember being like, that's why I stuck it out. We were only together for 6 months. And throughout that 6 months, most of it was just through phone calls and video calls, like whatever. So it just creeps me out. And like I said, sometimes I'm fine with it, but it makes me so disappointed and feel gross that I was with this like kid. And like, that's what he was. And he put himself into this package that made him look like he wasn't that. And then when I saw the deal, I was just like, what am I doing? So I can't help but think like, does this like newscaster chick, is that what she ever feels? Is that why she looks like she's about to cry in all these photos? Like, or am I just like a person with an opinion and people can totally be in love and have a healthy relationship and have this huge age gap?
Well, I don't know this woman. I have no idea who she is, or I've ever seen her in my life or know anything about her. But I'd imagine there's times, maybe a lot, when he does something and she says in her head, "Oh, this fucking kid."
I'm gonna send you her Instagram right now.
What am I gonna do with this fucking kid? So I said, for older women, it's got to be horrible because you meet a 25-year-old dude, you think, oh, he's 25, he's got his shit together. He don't have his shit together.
And it's okay. You know, that's okay. You're young. It's okay to not have your shit together at that point.
But don't be expecting it. That's for sure.
Okay, tell me she doesn't look like she's with her son in this photo.
Did you send it on Twitter?
No, I sent it on the private chat.
Oh, okay. There we go. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Doesn't that look like she's with her son?
Yeah.
And doesn't she look like she's going to cry?
Oh, his latest song, Major Holidays. Hold on, let me bring this up. We gotta find his music. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I heard it. Because I was trying to like make sense of this whole thing.
Let's do his latest song, Major Holidays. Just dropped. Oh, she's using the slang for the kids. His music just dropped. She's proud of him like a mom.
That's what I mean. It's so weird.
That's who the dude is. Ooh, his first show's coming up. That'd be awesome. Let me see. Should be able to hear this. Well, hold on.
3 o'clock, heard the door lock. Got you in the mood to try something new. Go slow, I'll hold your head. You never miss a spot down there. Trust me, if you touch me, won't be no sleep. Gonna work in the morning, clock in, put it on.
Good for her.
And then check out this photo. I just sent you another link to a specific photo. Now, that specific photo was when I was like, man, this is really like creepy to me. No offense to her at all. I ended up unfollowing her because it bothered me so much.
Let's see. Looks like his suit jacket's too big for him. She's got him some clothes at the big boy store. Let me pull this one up. Oops. Come on, there we go. Those are clothes she literally just bought him.
And I feel so bad. I'm not trying to hate, but it's just weird to me. And then I remember when I was with the young guy, my cousin, who is no longer on my Facebook anymore because he's an asshole. But he was right. He looks like and then he put a slur for a gay person. I don't want to say the word, but let me see if I can pull up that picture. I'll pull it up. But see if it's in the internet's here. I'm sure it is. But when I saw that picture, we took this photo because we did like this couples wrestling tournament. I was like, what the hell am I doing with this guy? Find it. It's not popping up. I can't even remember.
From his perspective, he's got him a cougar, and like that's cool as shit. And like his bros are like, yeah, man, stay on that gravy train, hit that shit, or whatever people say nowadays, whatever slang they use.
Dude, like I remember. Oh God, let's see. I remember when I first went to visit him, and we were like on this show together. How can I send you this? Share. We went to this show together, and he was like, yeah, people are congratulating me. And I was like, what? Congratulating you? What the hell? This isn't the photo I was talking about, but this just shows you what am I doing? And you can see on my face, I'm very like, what am I doing?
Whoops, wrong button. There we go. Come on. I think I'd be good at this by now.
I wish I can find the couples photo. Like, what am I doing? My face says it all. This dork.
Oh, it won't get any bigger. When I zoom in, it goes out.
Let's see.
Oh,
Maybe if I go on my Facebook here, because I think I haven't deleted it. Here's the thing. One thing I don't really do is delete photos, even if I hate the people, because I feel it's good for me to look back sometimes and be like, oh God, the good thing I'm not in that situation anymore.
He's got a lot of belts.
What's that?
He's got a lot of belts.
God. Sick.
Oh.
I wish I might have to look for it when I have some time, and then I'll have to send it to you. But I just remember when I called the dude out on like cheating on me, he just kept saying, I think I was, let's see, 14. I think I was 34 or something, 35. I just remember he kept saying, you're 34 years old. Like, why are you acting this way? And he just kept throwing my age in my face. It was so ugly. I was just like, dude, this guy is like a kid. Like, I just can't. And like I said, to this day, like sometimes I'm like, I don't really have regrets in life because, I really truly feel that every experience you have just makes you who you are. And forever, I was like, I don't know what good came out of me being with this person, except me being ashamed that I was ever with him. But what's interesting is when I broke up with him, I was at a convention and this wrestler girl came up to me and she was like, yeah, I used to be friends, or I'm friends with his ex-girlfriend. And she was telling me these stories and they were very similar to the things he had done to me. And I said, that's really interesting because he told me the reason why he didn't have a car was because his ex-girlfriend got drunk and crashed it. She said, that's what he told her when she was dating him. So he has this story of that's why he doesn't have a car. He was always borrowing the people who he lived with's car. And like, it was like these stories that he would tell me about his ex-girlfriend. So what ended up happening is me and the ex-girlfriend ended up talking. And to this day, she's one of my best friends. Like, we are so homies. Like I took her to get her first tattoo when she came to California to visit. Like, I'm all up in her personal life these days. So I always, whenever I feel guilty and disgusted with myself, it's like I would never be friends with my friend Jen had I not gone out with this dude. And another thing that I try to remind myself of is that shortly before hooking up with this dude, there was this wrestler. I'm not gonna say any names, I don't want any trouble, but he and I were friends for really like many years, like 10 years. And he would always try to hook up with me, and he was married. And so I was like, no, dude, you're married. Like, no, dude, you're married. And so one day he was in town. We hooked up. I remember after we had sex, I was like, you finally got what you wanted. Like, I was just like, ugh. And he told me, he swore to me he wasn't married. And he didn't have his wedding ring on it then. So I was like, okay, maybe something happened, you know? And so what happened is like, this is why I was against Snapchat for so long. I hadn't been on Snapchat yet. It was pretty new. And I remember after he dropped me off, he sent me this topless picture of him in his hotel, and it was a snap. So I had to like click it and like download it. And I was like, dude, how many other chicks is he sending this to? I'm not stupid. And so I remember he was like, I don't know, because at the time, Danielle and I, we were living in a studio apartment with my dogs, just like so broke. And he was like, I don't know why you just don't let me take care of you. Like, let me put you in a good apartment, to get you a car, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, how about you just get me my job back at WWE? Because at that time, that's how desperate I was. And he was like, I don't even work there. I was like, dude, you're so-and-so, you're a legend. Like, how, like, you just have to call them. And he was like, no. And so that's when I was like, dude, I see what's going on here. He just wants all the control. And like, he wants me to have to depend on him. So when he comes into town, whatever. And so I was like, dude, I'm not, in wrestling, there's this term that we've talked about before, but if for some of you don't know, like there's this term called rats or ring rats. I was like, I'm not one, like groupies. I'm like, I'm not one of your rats, like whatever. And so like I cut communication with him. And then shortly after that is when I got with this young guy. And so I really feel it was like, I really believed that this person wasn't married anymore. And I thought like maybe there could have been something there because we were friends for so long. So we had a lot in common. Like I liked his presence. We always had a good time. So I thought, okay, maybe there is something. And I was down to date him. But when I saw all of this, like, let me put you up. No, dude. And especially like if he really was my friend, why wouldn't he put in a call for WWE? I'm glad he didn't because I have no business being there. But I feel that just really effed with me, that's why I fell for this, like, this dude. I gotta find this picture because you are gonna laugh at me forever. I would. If I saw somebody send me this picture, I would make fun of them forever too. But yeah, so like when I talk about dating and it creeps me out, younger, too younger of people for you, I'm talking from experience because it was like always on my mind, especially when the fantasy part of it was over and it was the basement, like. And the worst part is he told me that he was a recovering alcoholic and drug user. And then come to find out when I became friends with his ex, he has no problem. Like he says that to like be part of his like shtick. And she's not the only person to tell me that. There's been other girls who came forward to me and they were like, I'm so sorry he did that to you. Like I used to hang out with him and da da da. And I'd be like, was he an alcoholic? They're like, no, we totally like he would drink and it would just be like normal, like, or he'd smoke and it'd just be like normal. So like, and I think it's sick because there was this time this wrestler was really down and out online and people knew, like, I think he was real effed up at a show and people were giving him real heat for it. And then my ex tweeted him because I followed this wrestler and I saw it and he was like, I know how it is. I'm here for you. And I was like, dude, that is so sick because you don't know how it is. And now you're over here to try to get the rub. Like, I hope my ex, now that he's older, because that was a long time ago, has grown up some. Because I don't keep up with him. I don't talk to anyone that keeps up with him or knows him, so I have no idea. But for his sake and other people's, I hope he got his crap together because it's just sick to be that reckless.
All right.
Ew,
Yeah.
another picture.
Have, of course, the interview with April Hunter coming up. We'll play the first part of. I was thinking, Shelly, maybe
Yes.
the best way to do it is for you to say, you know, whatever preview that or whatever, you know, we want people to know about what's coming up. And then we just play it. And it's, you know, like the first 25 minutes or whatever. And then come back at the end and you can say, you know, whatever thoughts you had.
Yeah, totally.
First part, and then preview the second part for the next episode. And that'll be cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you need to, like, you know, tell me anything, you do it in the chat or Twitter or whatever. And I'll be here chilling.
All right, real quick. This isn't the photo. I meant to tweet it to you because I'm on my phone here. This isn't the photo, but this just shows you how we were. This is not a good match. And not only that, he was a person who he knew I had a Jesus fetish. And so he grew this beard that was real awkward just because of me. Ugh. Anyways, and then I'm done talking about it. Ugh.
There you go. Good times.
Not good times. Hashtag.
Oh, shit. Okay, Shelly, what do you want to tell us about this this interview with April?
Well, it was really awesome because I've known April for a really, really long time. And I say this in the interview. Even though I've known her for a long time, I don't know a lot about her. Like, yes, we've had cool conversations, deep conversations, whatever, but I didn't know a whole lot about her background, specifically how she even got involved in wrestling. Like, and this interview really showed me why I've always clicked with her and why I continue to click with her. Because I feel that from knowing her back in the day until now, I've seen growth in her, and yet she's still the same silly, sexy April Hunter. And I just think that's really cool because there's not a lot of people in wrestling I could say that I've had a bond or a friendship with that I've seen that with. That's why I hardly talk to anybody in wrestling anymore because it's like we just went different directions. So it was really cool to understand why I just love April Hunter's energy.
There you go. So like I said, we'll play the first 25 minutes or so. I'll try to find a natural stopping point or, you know, demarcation point or whatever between parts 1 and part 2. And Shelly and I'll be back to wrap things up and talk about the first part of the interview, preview the second part of the interview, and all that cool shit. So without further ado, Shelly Martinez interviewing April Hunter. Enjoy.
April Hunter.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I am doing well. Shit, is that right?
Say that. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
You're stuck in some shit over there.
Literally, yes. And my dog's barking at the same time. But yes. Hey, stop. He thinks because I'm talking to you, that obviously someone's at the front door. So
I understand. Minnie, my Chihuahua, it's so learned over the last year that when people say hi, like hi, like on a Skype or whatever, when I was like Skyping with family, she would go nuts. So now we know when people say hi, high pitched, or bye, like high pitched.
Yep.
She goes nuts. She'll just be like, "Ooh, it's so weird."
That's what he's doing. He's new. I only got him. He was rehomed to me 2 months ago. So I've got a young one and an old one, and they are making me work. So this one's chewing everything. The other one's, you know, an elder. So
I can't imagine. So you got the elder. How old's the elder, or do you not know?
He's only 12, but he's a hard 12. Like he's been one of those, an old pit bull who's been hit by a car and was living on the streets and has scars all over him. It's that kind of 12. So that's exactly what he looks like.
Oh, bless his heart. Bless your heart, because that's a lot. Like, you know, so you got the pit bull, and then what's the other dog again?
The other one is a corgi. He was dropped off from Georgia to my house because of someone couldn't keep their corgi, and they knew that I'd had a couple of them, and they knew the breed. So now I've got another one, even though I didn't want one. So,
and to everyone watching out there, I just want to give you this little disclaimer. I was on April's show, the A show, quite a few weeks back. We talked about a lot of really awesome stuff. So if I were you, I would push pause right now and actually go check that out. Because it's almost like I'm going to take this as we're going to continue the conversation. So let's just start it off. Where can people find the A show? So if you push pause right now.
Thanks. They can find us on Patreon, The A Show, or on Twitch TV, The A Show. And we're live every Tuesday nights at 7:30 Eastern. So that's 4:30 your time, I think, right? Yeah.
Awesome. And so on there, you had said the story of your corgi, and I just thought it was such a beautiful story. So like you guys go push pause and go watch it because it's really awesome. You know, I just wanted to take this time to, like, you know, you and I have known each other for a really long time, but that doesn't mean like we know a lot about each other. So this is just my cheap way of getting to know April Hunter even more and sharing that with all the fans out there. So of course I'm going to have to ask you the ultimate question. I'm sure you've got asked a gazillion times, but I want to hear from you. How did you start wrestling?
Oh boy, I have answered this plenty of times, but it never gets old. So it was a weird roundabout way of getting into wrestling. It was through Playboy. So I started doing fitness stuff, and Playboy was looking for someone to do their hard bodies issue. And I happened to be in there the same time as Kimberly Page, and DDP was in there. So WCW saw that and then kind of recruited me. So that's how I got in. How I'm still in is lack of sanity, obviously.
So you got in, you were doing your stuff with WCW. Mm-hmm. How did you like transfer that to like, you went and did indies and you did the whole thing where there's a lot of girls who may have been in your situation that they're like, okay, done that, like next, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, when I left there, they weren't doing anything with me, and somebody from WWF or WWE now contacted me to come over to Los Angeles after WrestleMania. And then they sent me to Killer Kowalski's to get trained. And while I was there, this is a story of my life. While I was there, ECW and WCW folded. So I got lost in the shuffle. So then I started going to Japan and England and Puerto Rico, and there was that. So why did I do it? I don't know. It just seemed like the next logical step. I'd been doing fitness modeling and pinup modeling for so long. I was like, I've done it. Let me try something else. So
that's what I love about you. And I feel like that's why I've always bonded with you. I've talked about a little bit on your show was you were already doing the modeling and already establishing yourself before wrestling came into play. And so it's like, you're the old school, like, girl out there living in this .com age with OnlyFans and Patreon and whatever other ones are out there now. There's so many. And it's just so interesting because we talked on your show about seeing that kind of transition and the haters, and now they have them and all this. And it makes so much sense though to me how you just fell into wrestling, really. I mean, like I said, you could have just been like, whatever, but you continued. And I don't know, you to me always stood out. You were always different to me. And
really,
like, your WEW days. Oh, God. For those of you that don't know WEW, don't worry about it.
Right, exactly. Although for some weird reason, the worst matches ever are playing all the time on Tubi, and what's the other channel that they're on? Peacock. I mean, like, you can catch these. We're on TV now regularly, of course. Now that we're not doing much, of course. And and some of the worst matches ever. So yeah.
Dude, I was like 2 years into wrestling, and I just remember like being nervous and being thrown into situations that I
Oh
was
yeah.
just, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. It was just such a weird, but I'm grateful for that chaos that I had with them because it really painted the picture for what lied ahead.
Yeah, and like I remember we would get paid for one show, but end up filming at least 2, sometimes 3 and 4. Like the pay was deplorable. So it cracks me up when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, are you getting royalties for that?" I'm like, "You're funny." Royalties for what? You know, like that stuff has been around over and over again and played and played and played, and somebody's making money from it, but the ones who were on it to make it are not getting paid. So there you go. So hey, join our Patreon April Hunter. Join everybody. You know, there you go. But yeah, no, it's like you would get thrown into that mix, and all of a sudden you have all these matches and everyone is new and there's no time to talk anything over, and it's just like, okay, you just got back from another one, okay, now you're in a tournament, go. And it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm new at this. So you hope for the best, you know.
That's all you can effing do is hope for the effing best. I remember there was a guy, one of the guys in charge, years later when I like made it to WWE, he was like, he called me like threatening me. He was like, "You've been burying me and this and that." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And like the only thing I ever said was about the pay because I was under the impression, and maybe this was my fault being young and dumb, but when they were like, "You're gonna get like a couple $100 per whatever event or whatever," I was thinking we're filming
Per
for
show.
yeah.
Yes.
And so got the check, I was like, "What?" And I asked questions.
Yeah, their wording on event means however many shows we can mash into the time that you're here, you're getting the same pay, no matter if it's 1 or 11. So we don't care.
And so like that was the only real negative thing at that time I had really said. So I was really taken back that this guy was like, "I could ruin your name and you think just because you got signed that I can't ruin it for you." And so then later when I like got more involved and like got a better like, you know, my spot, I started asking questions and people like laughed and rolled their eyes at them. They're like, "What are you talking? Oh my God." And that guy, he made me feel like I was scared. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And like, all I said was the truth. And it's like, oh, well, like, so what if I was bitching about the pay? And it was so strange. And I'll never forget that. And that guy since has tried to be like cool with me online. I'm real petty sometimes. I'll be like, no.
See, I'm opposite. I will let them be friendly to me, and then if something comes around in the future where I can make the money from them again, I'll just triple charge them.
See, I'm petty. That's why I'm so broke for so many years because I like.
Did you say broke or woke? Are you broke or woke?
Both. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, I know. Good. If you're woke, you're gonna go broke. It seems like we're finding that out.
Yeah. So like, that's who I am. Like, here's the thing: when I'm petty about things, to me, like, yeah, I am letting my ego get like the best of me and whatever. But I never am petty with like ugly vibes behind it, if it makes sense. Like, if I'm going to be like, you screwed me over, so I will never, I don't care how broke, I've told that to a couple of people, I don't care how broke I am, I'll never take $1 from you. I've told a promoter or two that.
It's a principle.
And like, I stayed true to it, and they would offer me money, and I was always, you know how life works, always when I was super broke, they're like, "Hey, this easy match, or just come to the show." And I'm like, "Nope, you're a pig, I will never take your money." And so like,
Oh girl.
I don't do it to be like, F you, blah, blah, blah. It's more like, no, this is my boundary.
I'm Henry Hill all the way. F you, pay me. So if F you, pay me. So pay me. So if I have the opportunity to work with you again, I will remember what you've done, and I'll be like, okay, it's cool, whatever. Da, da, da. I'll just quietly on the DL tell the other girls, hey, watch out with that person. Like,
I used to do that, and then I kept getting mixed up with these yahoos, and I was just like, this isn't worth it. So when I get to that point with people, it like I've allowed them to take for me to where if I'm like, you know what? There's no effing way. Like, screw you. Like, I will not. There's people in the customs world I will never. Oh, and I love when they send their fillers out. I'll be like, especially when I know I shoot some like they live.
yep.
So I know so and so's gonna come, and there they are. I'm like, nope, I don't want your money. I don't want it. Nope, nope.
Oh, I'll take your money. And you're going to cover travel and hotel and my pet fee and everything now.
But I don't know. I'll just take my little internet money and run. So something that we talked about, I've been thinking about so much since I was on your show, is you said something that just really resonated with me. And we were talking about, life, and, you had mentioned, you said something to the effect of like, what if like God knew that you're going to have a hard time, so maybe he made you attractive so it helps you. It's like I've been so obsessed with like you bringing that thought up. So for my viewers here, can you kind of just reiterate that?
Yeah. So there was, I have all these, I think too much. I'm alone a lot. So I start thinking, so my theory was I had to do with incarnating or reincarnating. So, I feel like there's a possibility that when we choose to incarnate, we're also given a little bit of like a timestamp or a QR code in a way that light workers, the mediums, the palm readers, some of them, the legit ones, can kind of decipher and tell us, hey, like you're way off path. This is not your purpose over here. You're supposed to be over here. So like there are these decoders out there that can figure our shit out if we find the right, if we find legitimate ones. But I also wondered if when we incarnate, if we innately know, like, something knows that we're going to have a hard time because coming around this time, we're fixing a lot that we couldn't get right before. So we're going to be facing a lot. So as a trade-off, the supreme being will stand there and be like, you got a lot of hard work ahead of you. This is not going to be an easy trip, this one. But I'm going to make you hot as fuck so that life isn't terribly hard on you. It's going to be hard, don't get me wrong. And you're still going to get backlash for being hot. But still, at the end of the day, I'm going to make you hot. And it'll help smooth out the other things you're dealing with. The fact that your family's going to suck. You're going to have a hard upbringing. Your relationships are going to be like that kind of thing.
With it is, not only in like those exact terms have I been thinking about it, but then I think about the opportunities that I've gotten. Like, for example, being in the personal lives of very high profile celebrities. Because I was in these people's personal life, I saw a side of what comes with being that famous and some of the prices that are paid for that. And for me, it allowed me to be like, I'm good. I'm good. And so I've watched other people who maybe have gotten the same opportunities, but then they're like, well, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And that's where I'm going to go. And so I've seen, especially like some of my friends that I've had in the past become like super famous in wrestling or in acting. And I've seen that difference. And I really, truly feel that, like thinking back to what you were saying and on that line is like, I was gifted to be hot so that I could be in these people's lives so I could see that, because to me, truly, that saves so much to see truly what goes on in entertainment firsthand. That really helped me. And that's why with wrestling, I was able to not take it so serious. Like I cared about it, but you know what I mean? Like these people taking it
live and die by it. Yeah, I know.
You know, they write for you to win a title. Doesn't mean you're better than people. Like, you know, those people. But some of those people are the most famous of wrestlers. So, hey, that's cool, whatever. And so, like, that's another example of, like, just thinking about this. And I've been sharing it with my sister. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, think about it.
And yeah, it's like a crazy theory. I have a few of them. What's the other? I write down this crazy shit. So you probably know all these because you're pretty like self-aware and you know study the metaphysical speakers and stuff. But I was at like a class on Saturday for metaphysical, and it was like 3 things to conquer fear. And the first is you ask yourself, how are these thoughts serving me? How are these thoughts serving me right now? The second is you sit with the fear and ask, where did this false belief come from? And sometimes you really have to dig deep on that. Like, where did it originate from that it's coming out now? Like maybe you're like, oh, I'm turning 40. I'm not married. I don't have kids. I am a failure. But realistically, that's a false belief that society might have instilled when you were younger, thinking you have to have a white picket fence and a house and a husband and two kids by the time you're 38 years old, or you're just a failure. And that's not your belief. That's just a false belief that somebody else decided was okay. So the third one is your purpose is greater than the sum of all your fears. So you have to keep moving. So the thing that got me was, it says intuition shows us the future path, and our past doesn't have to be our future. So a lot of people think that their past is going to be the future, and they have all these fears, and the fears paralyze them and keep them from moving forward. Whereas in reality, our intuition will guide us forward the right way. We just can't get intuition confused with, instinct, because sometimes instinct is not necessarily, sometimes it's built off of our past rather than the future. I don't know if that makes sense.
Because just yesterday, I got COVID like almost 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like on the mend of it. And yesterday was the first time I was able to walk my dog because I just been laid up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was walking with my man, and we were walking the dog. And because of the conversation we were talking about, it was really deep. And all of a sudden, I started to have a panic attack, and I started freaking out. And then I felt like I was going to pass out. And the reason why was because what we were talking about was very true, real stuff that's going on in life right now that I don't even feel comfortable talking about on here because of I'm a tinfoil hat wearer. So
that's okay.
And get me.
That is not necessarily true anymore. Like, the conspiracy theorists have actually been pretty freaking accurate the last 2.5 years. So you can't rule anything out.
I know. That's just my attempt at humor. Don't come for me. There's other people out there that are in position to talk about these things. I'm not one of them. But I was talking about some deep stuff that was really freaking me out. Mm-hmm. And the whole fear goes back to, and to me, my biggest fear in my entire life has been death. Because at a very young age, I was exposed to very violent, ugly stuff. And death, lots of death, seeing dead bodies, like, I'm just traumatized. And because of my family's background, them being like in gangs and things like that, the phone in the middle of the night always means something bad. So it's just like, I have been grown up in this fear. And so I've been trying, I love hearing this because that's what I went to yesterday. Like, instead of turning around right away, I just took a deep breath. I said, okay, this isn't doing me good right now. I need to get a grip. I can't pass out right now. So get a hold of yourself, Shelly. So I just kind of like took that, like, kind of what that first one was of like, how is this serving? It wasn't serving me. So I had to like decide to realize reality is this isn't good for me to get all worked up like this. And it was a lot, especially because have you had COVID at all? Have you gotten it?
I got it super early. I got it December 2019. I got the unwatered down version, and in hindsight, of course nobody knew what it was at the time. Now they're taking cadavers from that time and cadavers from this time, and they're comparing the tissue samples in other countries, not this one, and they're saying, okay, this was in our country at that point too. I realized now I had long COVID because I had it for quite a long time, and I have permanent lung damage from it. So, yay! But to be honest, I haven't had, knock wood, I haven't had it since. So, and I've been exposed a lot too. So I do think there's some weight to the natural immunity thing. My friend got it at the same time too. She hasn't had it since either, and she travels more than I do. So, I mean, we both got it pretty good. So,
so I don't know about you, but this is what I experienced because I didn't know what to experience. I kind of was just like, okay, I'll just ride this wave. Like, I wasn't prepared for how mentally it affected me.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, at the end of the day, I don't think, like, it's not cool to have COVID, duh, but like being that was my reality, the positive that I got out of it was like, I feel like I'm a completely different woman, 1,000%, because of where my mind went, and I'm like, why is this going on? And I had to like peel the onion of myself. And that's why yesterday I felt weird, because I felt like I just don't feel me. Like, this is a little too weird. And then breaking down like what it can do into your body. And then I was like, ah! And so I'm curious if you felt any way the same with your experience, especially when you got so early, you didn't know what it was.
It's funny. I'm hesitant to admit that, but I know that my focus and my attention span and certain things haven't been the same since. And I chalked it up to graduating. I graduated from university in 2019. So I didn't have like somebody basically pointing a gun at my head, giving me deadlines saying this has to be in by 11:59. So I know, I got through 3.5 years of school, and actually 3 years and 3 months of school, and 4 years worth of school in 3 years and 3 months. See, that's my brain. So I was able to concentrate well enough to take an advanced degree program and get through it and graduate with honors. But now I feel like I'm all over the place. So I don't know if it's that or like concussions kicking in from before, but I know I don't feel quite right. Like the memory loss. I can see the words, but I can't get them out, or I crisscross them. Like I went to Bon Jovi a couple weeks ago, and my friend went to Billy Joel. So I kept saying I was going to Billy Joel, and then my other friend's correcting me. She's like, "You went to Bon Jovi." I'm screwing them up, and by the end of it, I'm calling it Billy Jovi. I went to Billy Jovi. So, like, these are things I do that we laugh about. But at the end of the day, when you're a speaker, it's frustrating. It's embarrassing. It makes you sound stupid, and when you're not supposed to be stupid, it's embarrassing. So yeah, I don't feel quite right. And this is now 2.5 years later. So
see, that scares me because I started noticing.
I think that's a good place to stop and kind of tease for next week, because we don't want to know what Shelly's going to say about that. It's very interesting. I I had COVID in September of last year, I guess around when the Delta variant was, I guess. All it seemed like to me was like a pretty bad cold. For a couple of days, my voice was pretty iffy, but I mean, I guess if I think about it hard enough, I am more forgetful. But I just chalk that up to age because I'm fucking old. But you never know. It's not one of the things I've heard most about COVID, but a lot of people got it, and a lot of people got different strains and variants and all that stuff. So who knows?
I don't know. It's crazy because like I was very new of recovering from it when I had this interview. And when I was reviewing it before I sent it to you, I was just like tripping out on all of that. And it just kind of took me to that place. And what's even crazier is like, there's certain things in the house that'll trigger me to feel like I have COVID for a second because, like, for example, in my room, there's a bathroom and there was a certain soap that I didn't have until COVID. So sometimes when I smell it, all those feelings of COVID come back. It's so freaking weird. And it was the weirdest because, like you, I felt like it was just really bad cold. Like, thank God it was that's like, I know some people got like really, really bad and I was laid up, but it was like, just sleeping, feeling drained, um, you know, like a bad cold, almost like the flu without throwing up was how it felt. Yeah. But like when I was talking in there about how I was a different woman, I remember in moments like, I don't know if it was from like quarantining myself in the room and like I'm a person that loves to go outside, but I really did feel like I was really looking at myself under the microscope and I was like, this is weird. And like, I have this COVID thing and like, because I had definitely have my thoughts on COVID and how the media presents it, blah, blah, blah. As do you. We have a lot of the same similar beliefs and all this. Mm-hmm. So it really did. It was a mind F. It really effed with my mind. Like when I had it and I was going through it, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, man. It was weird.
Hey, ma'am. They made that shit in a lab and they gave it to all of us on fucking purpose. Go look it up. Even the head of the World Health Organization now says, yeah, it was made in a lab and yeah, it got loose and yeah, we're super sorry or whatever. Fuck you.
You know what's interesting is that I have family members that were really like going with the agendas and stuff like that. And they would give me and my sister heat because we weren't. And I just remember one family member in particular was like, I go by the science. I go about what they tell us. And then it's like, well, dude, look what's coming out now. Because when they said that, that was before I even got COVID. So it was a while back. So now that this stuff's coming out, I haven't said anything yet, but part of me wants to be petty and be like, so how about that? If this is what you believe the news, you believe what they tell you, you trust the government, these things are coming out. What do you think? But I feel it's a waste of my time and I just don't have the energy these days to go through it. But the truth always does come out. And I love how, like you said, it's kind of like they're just like,
yeah. We're wrong with everything. I had so many people on Twitter give me shit or unfollow me as soon as I started retweeting stuff about masks and vaccines and all that shit. One of them, I've never told this story before on my show, was a celebrity I interviewed, Kira Kosserin. She was in the show The Thundermans on Nickelodeon. She's done some other stuff too. I had her on the show. It was cool. But I noticed soon after like the COVID stuff started and all that and the stuff I was retweeting, she unfollowed me. I mean, she had like sent my daughter like a happy birthday message like over Twitter. It was like, we were pretty cool with each other. And then I noticed, and it had to be that because what else it would be? Me talking about weed. She knew who I was. I was Stoner Jesus, what she thought was cool in the first place, and decided to do an interview with me. But after all that shit started, I've had people tell me like, they couldn't like retweet my stuff anymore because of my political stances or some bullshit. Look, I was right. All you damn people were wrong. I deserve something for that. What? I don't know, but damn.
I agree. And it's so crazy that with this stuff coming out that they're just acting like it's no big freaking deal. Mm-hmm. Those same people, like, they know, but yet, like, they must feel dumb. Like, they just must feel dumb. Or I don't know if they just tricked themselves into being like, well, they said sorry. I don't know. But it's like, what are these people that were so up in arms, like fighting with people online? Like, if people disagree, who cares? If you don't agree with like what somebody's following you and they don't agree with what you're talking about, why? I remember seeing like these battles and people just talking crap to you, and it's like, why? Like, why get so up in arms? And then how are those people feeling now? Like, and more stuff's just going to come out. So it's like, this is why I love social media to an extent, because it does allow you, to an extent now these days, to say whatever. But it's like these people, it's almost like it's not even about what you're saying. It's just that they feel that they're right. And it's this whole like ego thing. And it's like, God, like, go smoke, man. Go smoke a bowl.
They want to control you for your own good and make you do what they want you to do. And there's nothing more dangerous than that. People are doing things for your own good, supposedly. I'll worry about my own good. You worry about yours. We'll see how we turn out.
And here's the thing. It's like the energy I got off of when you would tweet, even when it seemed like you were upset, was like, you're just trying to share information. You're just trying to share, to give. There's two sides to every conversation. It doesn't mean you have to agree with both sides. It doesn't mean you have to agree with what you're saying. Like, it's just giving out more to the conversation. And it's like people act like a bunch of little bitches, like little kids throwing these little fits. Well, if you believe this, then go ahead and unfollow me. Okay, bitch. Boop, unfollow. Like, why? It's like these temper tantrums of these adults. And it's like, it's so annoying. And that's just where the day and age we live in. Okay, it was COVID and masking up and vaccines, and then in a few months it's going to be something else, and then those same people are going to be up in the arms. They're not going to learn their lesson of, hey, maybe there is two sides to the story. Maybe before I get all aggressive. And I feel like when you were giving people that side of the conversation, it's like you weren't hurting anyone in doing that. You ended up having to defend yourself, like, but you were just trying to get. Whereas I feel these people, they're so mentally abusive online. So they're harm. It's harm to me that they're just like there's this one chick. She's just like, always, I follow her still, but like, I met her through wrestling. She would tweet about like how she gets bullied for this, and this online. But then I saw her calling somebody that she disagreed with like names and all this. And I tweeted, I was like, when you're calling someone names, don't be bitching that people are coming for you, because like, you went there. You went there and called people names, derogatory names, because they didn't agree with you. Like, it's so.
Twitter used to be such a great place. Twitter was awesome. Like 2009, 2010, 2011. MySpace was dying.
I know.
Twitter was a place to be. Now it's just a bunch of assholes.
I know. I miss those days, and they'll never come back.
No.
Even if they find a new platform to like be the new Twitter will never be the same. And it makes me so sad. Like, it's crazy. I'm so upset over it that like I ended up writing MySpace because I don't have access to my old email I had with it. And they like recovered my account. And so I'm like poking around. I'm like, maybe I should just do MySpace again.
That's right. Those were the days.
Those were the days, man. Those were the days.
Oh, all right, Shelly. It's we have part 2 of the April interview next week, along with other stuff we didn't get to tonight, stuff that'll come up in the ensuing week, all that stuff. Make sure you check out channelattitude.com. All the shows on there, they're awesome, including us. Subscribe, share, go follow us on Twitter, Instagram. It's been scrolling the entire show. You can't miss it. All the information you need is right there.
And real quick, when I was trying to find that photo earlier, I came across this old photo of me and the Undertaker at the WrestleMania party. And I can't believe that we haven't talked about this. So next week, I want to talk about this photo that was taken, because I've put it out there throughout the years and no one says anything. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So just a little teaser for next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Shelly. Episode 2 for channelattitude.com. In the can, as they say in the business.
In the can, man. Adios.
Bye.